Hello, my beautiful friends. Thank you so much for joining me again today on Behind the Magic podcast. I'm Tanya. I am your host, and I am with my friend Steven. And if you're following along with us, we are digesting his massive library, 10 books at a time. So we're going to go ahead and get right into it. Hello, Steven.
Hey, how you doing?
The first book is a fabulous book. It is Roll Away the Stone. It's by Israel Regardie, and it's
Secretary to Aleister Crowley of all people.
yes.
Yes.
So this is
The
an
beautiful
introduction to his
psychedelic
lectures.
1970s cover. I wish I had the original first edition, but that would be a little pricey. I am glad that I have this copy though, because I came up in the 1970s. I was self-initiated in the 1970s. You could feel the magic in the air in the 1970s. I swear, before the gods, you could feel that spiritual energy in the air. Some didn't, I did.
No, I was born in the 70s, so it stands
Yes, but you're very, very young.
reason. This book was put out by Llewellyn Publications in
Yes.
1968.
1968. Roll Away the Stone by Israel Regardie. Israel Regardie was secretary to Aleister Crowley. And that's a whole story you need to explore by yourself and for yourself because it's nuts. Absolutely nuts. But yeah, this was 1968. It's got the very cool psychedelic cover. It's got all of Aleister Crowley's lectures on doing drugs. Yes, let's be very, very honest here and suggest that, that's what this is all about. Israel Regardie put this out in the late 60s because he wanted to show that the spiritual community back in the 60s and 70s, which is very hardcore, that Aleister Crowley was several steps ahead of them at that time. So this is a Roll Away the Stone is a great introduction to psychedelics and magic. You are often warned and counseled not to use drugs and mix it with magic. But yeah, Crowley talks about all of his, in this particular book, Roll Away the Stone by Israel Regardie. It's kind of a magical guide to using things like marijuana, hashish, that sort of thing. It doesn't suggest you get heavily involved with heroin or anything like that, but it will tell you that this is, in fact, despite the denials in the popular press, using drugs is absolutely connected with the practice of magic. That's all I'll say. You can argue with me as much as you want, but no, I'm sorry. Shamans, we do dope.
Okay, so the next book we have is The Goat Foot God, and it was put out in 1936 originally by the Society of the Inner Light. And this book was put out in April 1971. The author is Dion Fortune.
Right, as our host mentioned, this is by Dion Fortune, who had an English name, which was very dull. I don't imagine that she cared anything about changing her name. I think her real name was Laura something. But yeah, this is the Goatfoot God. This is the 70s edition. I don't know much about this but I think as far as I got into it was reading the Goatfoot God poem at the beginning of it. I like the entire idea of the Goatfoot God because I've always loved the horned one, a distinct part of witchcraft and magic. I really enjoyed that. But tell you the truth though, I never read the book.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's probably great, but I'm a book collector. Doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to read the damn thing.
Well, then I don't still feel so bad about the stack of books that's sitting on my nightstand.
Nah, not at all.
So the next book that we have here is The Tree of Life, A Study in Magic by Israel Regardie, who we will talk about a lot, I'm sure. So this book was put out in 1969 by Samuel Weiser Incorporated, but then it was distributed by Llewellyn Publication. Another hardcover. All these books tonight are hardcovers.
Absolutely brilliant. I love The Tree of Life. I read it several times, at least 3 times through. It is a book with absolutely wonderful magical insight. If you have never read it, I seriously encourage you to do so. It's a wonderful book. Israel Regardie was secretary to Aleister Crowley, the Great Beast 666. And that's quite an appointment if you think about it. Secretary to the Beast 666. Okay, I just smelled it. I love the smell of old books. I'm weird like that. But yes, I
No,
just smelled that book.
there's a lot of people that do that.
1969. Oh my God, I love this book. I've read it at least 3 times. This is the hardback version, and let's see when was it published, Tanya? You remember? What was it 1969?
Yeah.
That is absolutely awesome. This is the kind of stuff that turned on hippies in the 1960s and 1970s. The work of Aleister Crowley. His famous dictum was, "Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law. Love under will." And you are not discuss the book of the law because you get it wrong. I like that. I like that idea. But definitely read The Tree of Life, A Study in Magic by Israel Regardie, secretary to Aleister Crowley. You will not be disappointed.
I always say when Crowley's name comes up, remember kids, Crowley rhymes with holy.
Yeah, there you go. That's exactly right.
So our next book is Eros and Evil by R.E.L. Masters. It's the sexual psychopathology of witchcraft. It contains complete text of sinistraries,
Demonality. Demonality indeed.
And this was put out by the
because
Julian
sex
Press.
Is all about demonism.
This was put
according to the Christians.
This was put out by Julian Press Incorporated, publishers, in 1962. And the one thing I don't like is whoever had this in their private collection, put their own embossing on the page.
Really?
Why would they do that?
They do that?
Mm-hmm.
Where's that?
Right there.
Right here?
Yeah.
Oh,
you feel it with your thumb there?
Yeah. That's not uncommon. Not uncommon when you collect books like that. Most of my library, I must tell you, comes from eBay. Eros and Evil by R.E.L. Masters is like a psychological introduction to the sexuality of witchcraft trials. It opens with the Hymn to Pan, which is by Aleister Crowley. Aleister Crowley was probably the master of sexual magic. See the Ninth Degree of the OTO, that sort of thing. I'll read that poem to you, but I can't see it. But yeah, this is a great little book on the intersection of spirituality and evil, or witchcraft, and what is considered evil. That's a big discussion right there about what is evil and what is not. Most people in these times and days would be flabbergasted to think that there's some sort of a connection between sexuality and evil. It's just not happening. It really isn't. But this is an interesting book to read and look at where we are now as opposed to where we are then, which is 1963.
In some cases, we're still there.
And many cases we are indeed still there, which is sad.
Indeed. The next book we have, Dracula Was a Woman, In Search of the Blood Countess of Transylvania. This is written by Raymond T. McNally, and he's the author of the best-selling In Search of Dracula. So first he goes in search of Dracula, and then he writes another book, Dracula Was a Woman, so I guess he found her. This is copyright 1983 by Raymond T. McNally, and it was put out by McGraw-Hill Publications.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff like this. Dracula Was a Woman was basically about Elspeth, I forget her last name.
Was it Blattery?
Yes, Bathory.
Bathory. I could not remember that earlier today.
Bathory.
Yes.
Yeah, she had this bizarre idea that she could fend off the effects of aging by bathing in the blood of virgins. And so, because she was a countess and had high rank, she actually did that. She made a career of enticing and murdering very young women and girls who are thought to be virgins and bathing in their blood. It's actually absolutely horrific. And it went on for several years until the authorities noticed that the local villages were being drawn away to this woman, and they never returned. They were children, basically, that she was murdering and bathing in their blood, which is horrifying, as you can really well imagine. It ended with her being walled up in her castle
Goodness.
and fed intermittently by the staff. But her chief protagonist, the woman that gathered these girls from local villages, was horrifically executed in a long series of torments. And if you read what they were accused of, you can readily agree they deserved what they got. So yeah, Dracula was a woman, a horrible person, absolutely horrible.
All right. Our next book. Our next book hopefully isn't so somber. Oh, but it's about werewolves. This book is called The Book of Werewolves, being an account of a terrible superstition. This is by Sabine Baring Gould, the classic work on this dreadful subject. Oh, another dreadful subject. This was put out by Causeway Books in 1973, and it's registered in the Library of Congress.
Yeah, the Book of Werewolves is a terrible superstition, but if you consider the difference between, say, werewolves and vampires, it all really gets down to sexuality. Okay, so vampires were the epitome of sexual crimes, whereupon werewolves were the epitome of violent, swift, horrible aggression. So it's a classic work on this dreadful subject, according to the subject matter. I like it. I read it when I was a teenager. It's by Causeway, which is actually a subsidiary of University Books. 1973. These are a lot of folk tales concerning werewolves, the violence of werewolves, that sort of thing. So it's an excellent resource for writers. If I were writing horror today, I would definitely have this book in my collection and refer to it off a lot of European werewolf lore. So if you're writing about that particular subject matter, I'd certainly suggest that you have this in your library.
And besides books, you could watch my favorite film, or one of my favorite films, American Werewolf in London.
Yes, that was great.
Oh, that was fantastic.
That was the best. Yes.
It was like the epitome of werewolf movies. And then American Werewolf in Paris.
Oh my God, yes.
My
that was actually a very good film, wasn't it?
Very good, very good.
Very good indeed.
Mm-hmm.
I don't usually put a lot of faith in sequences of after the fact and that sort of thing. But that was actually very good.
Yeah,
very good.
They could both, well, American Werewolf in Paris could stand on its own.
Sure.
That's a good thing about it.
Right.
It wasn't necessarily a sequel or follow-up. It was a whole nother, here's a werewolf over here.
I actually liked the second part of The Craft. The Craft 2, the original one. Oh, I rather liked that. I actually did.
I didn't like it.
I know.
I know.
You're a purist. You're a purist, but yeah, I get it.
Okay, on to the next book. It is The Blood Countess, a novel by
Andrzej Godryka.
Andrzej Godryka.
Yes.
So another one about the woman who bathed in the blood
of virgins.
So this is
Romania, I believe.
Yes, Transylvania. So this book was put out in 1995 by Simon and Schuster.
I love the 90s for that sort of thing. You know, they would put out these weird, just off the letter books. Look at that, there's no book collector from Great Expectations, a company I worked for back in the 90s, 80s and 90s. But yeah, this is a novel of the Blood Countess, Elizabeth Báthory. It is very, very good. I remember I read this front to back, and I read it in a nanosecond. It was really wonderful. If you can still find this book, The Blood Countess by Andrzej Godryka, it is very, very good. Very, very good. I liked it a lot. Also, you ought to check out the Hammer film version of this. I think it was called The Blood Countess, I believe. I'm not sure. But it's really great. And if you can, you should definitely check that out. It's a great, great little movie. Strange, but great.
Strange, I imagine. Oh, I imagine. So, our next book, book number 7, Satan Wants You, The Cult of Devil Worship in America by Arthur Lyons. And this was put out in 1988 by the Mysterious Press, and it's registered in the Library of Congress.
Alright, so yeah, I remember buying this. I think I bought it off of eBay or something like that. I was familiar with Anton LaVey and the Satanic Church. I actually bought the Satanic Rituals and the Satanic Bible in paperback in the early 70s. I still have those copies too. Alright, so yeah, it caused a lot of discomfort among my friends. I was in high school in the 1970s when I bought both the Satanic Bible and the Satanic Rituals. And really, I was only buying it because I wanted to understand what modern Satanism looked like. And I got a very good lesson in modern Satanism. It was pretty cool. But my friends, I mean, I was like 14, 15 years old, and I'm toting around, I'm bringing the Satanic Bible and the Satanic Rituals to school, reading between classes, So I got a really bad reputation from doing that.
I imagine.
Really imagine,
Especially living here.
Yeah, and conservative in Northwest Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I got a lot of that, and still to this day, some people do not talk to me.
Wow.
Yeah, wow. They don't. And I'm not at all surprised by that.
And I bet you're not at all bothered either.
No, I'm not at all bothered by that because as Popeye says, I am who I am.
That's fantastic.
So yeah, Satan Wants You, The Cult of Devil Worship in America. It's by Arthur Lyons. I dig it, I read the thing, but mostly what Satanism in America today is a denial of all religion whatsoever. I mean, they may as well be an atheist. They enjoy dressing up in the style, imagine Hollywood, with robes, black robes, and all that sort of thing.
And we do that too.
What?
The black robes.
Yeah, the black robes, I dig it, I really dig it, I really do, it's the 1970s. But, yeah, Satan Wants You, The Cult of Devil Worship in America, it's pretty cool, you gotta check it out.
Alrighty, on to book 9, The Book of Vampires. It was written by Dudley Wright and put out by Causeway Books in 1973, registered in the Library of Congress.
Alright, well, first off, how are you gonna take how are you gonna take seriously a book written by somebody called Dudley? I mean, seriously, come on, what the fuck? Alright? I dig it though, I probably picked it off a bargain table, This is the Causeway edition. It's all about vampires and that sort of thing. It's a historical account of vampires, vampirism, that sort of thing. If you are a writer, this is indeed something you must have on your bookshelf if you are writing about vampires. It's pretty much a safe bet that Poppy Zeebright had this on her shelf when she started writing for vampires, and also the other one. Yeah, this is good stuff. This is Anne Rice. Anne Rice probably has this on her bookshelf. So it behooves you, if you're a writer on vampires, vampirism, and that sort of thing, you should definitely have the Book of Vampires on your bookshelf.
Fantastic. Moving right along, we are on book number 10. So our last book is The Romance of Sorcery by Sax Romir. And this is another Causeway publication put out in 1973 and registered in the Library of Congress.
Yeah, Sax Romir, The Romance of Sorcery, 1973. Love the book. It's all about the romance of sorcery. Some may consider the whole thing of sorcery as complete nonsense, but that's okay. It's a romance, okay? And with a romance, you get all kinds of stuff. You get woodcuts. You get spells and pictures from the Great Grimoires of the Middle Ages. You get a lot of stuff with this.
I like pictures. It makes me feel more connected with what I'm reading.
Yes, it makes me feel more connected with what I'm reading too. And I really always enjoy books like The Romance of Sorcery, put out by Causeway, as my friend mentioned. Causeway was a subsidiary of University Books. And University Books republished all the great books on sorcery and magic, like Key of Solomon, the Glass Shell, all sorts of things. The Black Pullet, a lot of stuff like that. They actually had they had kind of greatest hits of sorcery and magic from a book called by author Edward Waite called The Book of Black Magic and Pacts. Now, most people, having saw the title in the book, would go, I don't think so.
What?
But braver souls, such as me and my friend Tanya,
Yeah.
would happily embrace that sort of thing. It's fun because we want to do some research. What is it? What is the origin of magic? What is it inscape? And books like Sax Rohmer's The Romance of Sorcery are very, very good for that. I think I actually own a paperback copy of this too. But yeah, definitely something you want to read if you're interested in the history of magic. Sax Rohmer.
Fantastic. That is
Thank you.
that is our 10 books for the evening.
Very good.
Thank you, Stephen, for joining me again.
I've enjoyed every minute of it. I hope that our friends and fans will look at and discover these books. They're important books to understand the history of magic and the evolution of magic. So mote it be.
So mote it be.
So
and
mote
with
it
that, I bid you all adieu. Join us again next Monday.